It's not real, the backstop. It's just bewitched to look like the night sky. I read about it in Brexit, a history.
Alright, let's see if we can make some sense of any of this. I've been trying to make a Brexit video for what feels like years, but every day I think this is the day I'm going to make a Brexit video, and by the end of the day it's obsolete because some other crazy thing happens. I'm going to go to my previous timeline correspondent for a recap on how Brexit happened. We voted to leave the European Union last week and it has been like the end of politics. Normally I would turn to my political leaders in this time of uncertainty, but our Prime Minister just fucking left. The only way that you abandoning ship helps us right now is that it lightens the load slightly so we take longer to sink. A Prime Minister, by the way, whose idea this was. I'm sick of banging on about Europe. Right, we're going to decide once and for all to stay in the European Union. That's what I think should happen. Go. What do you vote for? Right. That's backfired. So I guess you guys have all got to sort out who's leaving. Me? No, I'm going to be... Since the referendum, it feels like we have tried every possible version of leaving the EU, including that Theresa May at one point declared a general election. Theresa May didn't get enough seats. Not only did she lose the seats she had, she didn't get new ones. So she's now short of a majority, which means that even if every single member of her party votes a law in, all of the other parties can vote against her and she'll get nothing done. That general election has proven to be a problem. In order to get anything she wants done in the government, she has to partner up with a Irish party called the DUP. And the DUP only have one rule: we're just going to support stuff that's good for Ireland. And somehow Theresa May has not been able to deliver on that even once. You have Great Britain here and then you have Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of Britain, so they're leaving, they're doing UKexit, but the Republic of Ireland, the southern bit, they're staying in the EU. What's the border going to be like between them two? Because, I don't know if you know, but the Irish border, typically not a peaceful place. I said a lot of things in that video from like 3 years ago that are still quite relevant today. For example, a lot of people are talking, just as they were then, about a second referendum. There is a petition on there right now asking for a second EU referendum. Like, let's just do it all again and see what the result is the second time. It's got 2.5 million signatures. That's not a good solution, is it? Because if we vote to leave again, what, are they going to ask for another one? You can't keep doing it over until you get the result you want. And it was pretty split as well. It was 52% leave, 48% remain. So no matter who wins, half the country is fucked, aren't they? I mean, if we've, as a society, learned anything about enthusiastic consent over the last few years, if you get a no, you don't just keep asking until you get a yes. Ironically though, when we were first given the referendum, no one really had an opinion about Europe. You ask me, oh, do you think we'd be better in or out of the EU? I don't fucking know. Why am I expected to know any of this stuff? Oh, because the government are going to ask the whole country whether we should stay in or not. Why are they doing that? We don't have a clue. That's why we elect MPs, so we don't have to decide what the laws are. Now, there is no topic that people have more of an opinion on than Brexit, and yet we are no longer being allowed our say. There has been a petition on the government website which has hit 5 million signatures. We deserve a second referendum. There was a march the other weekend that over 1 million people turned up, apparently biggest demonstration since the Iraq war. But no, you're only going to ask our opinion when we don't know what it is. Now we've had 2 years to decide what it is. No, you had your say when you were uninformed. Don't want to hear it again. But they're sort of right. I mean, it's not going to work, is it? Unless we smash it, unless it's like 80% remain, which it won't be, because some people are just so tired, they just want to leave so we can talk about something else. Which is why I loved Theresa May's "fuck you MPs" speech.
2 years on, MPs have been unable to agree on a way to implement the UK's withdrawal. And of this I am absolutely sure. You, the public, have had enough. You're tired of the infighting, you're tired of the political games and the arcane procedural rows, tired of MPs talking about nothing else but Brexit.
I don't even know where to begin. Alright, so Theresa May went and negotiated a deal for us to leave the EU. She negotiated that deal with the EU. The withdrawal agreement won't be passed unless the government approves it. So Theresa May comes back to the UK, she goes, oh, got my withdrawal agreement there. Just have a little flick through, lots of pages to read. Give it a little peruse, see what you reckon. We're going to vote on it. I trust it meets with your approval. And they laughed in her face. I don't mean that as a joke. They literally laughed in her face.
I've listened very carefully to what has been said in this chamber and out of it. It is a draft treaty that means that we will leave the EU in a smooth and orderly way on the 29th of March 2019.
Not what you want, is it? So, anyway, they vote on it. She is defeated overwhelmingly. Like, over 200 people vote against it, and there's only like 600 people in the whole government. So, it was one of the biggest defeats ever. So what does she do? Well, she goes back to the EU and says, nah, sorry, no dice. They don't want the deal. We've got to come up with a new deal. And the EU says, no, we negotiated the deal. It's not Theresa May's fault, is it? If you can't go, oh, Theresa May, go and get us a better deal. The EU aren't like a vending machine giving out deals and you put the wrong number in or you didn't have the correct change. Like they agreed a deal together and that's the deal we have. Anyway, so she comes back a few weeks later and she says, should we just vote on it again? We've given it some thought and I think it really is the best deal, which is the opposite approach to how they are treating the referendum. All the public are like, ask us again. We have new information, we have new opinions, and we want to make our say. And Theresa May's going, no, you've already had your say once, and we heard you loud and clear. You don't need to have your say again. Now, about this second vote on my deal. So anyway, they have another vote on the deal, and it failed again, because it was the same deal. And then the Speaker of the House, who's sort of the guy in charge of deciding what happens in the House of Commons, like what topics get debated, and he's the guy who bangs the gavel and goes, order! 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 He said, we're not going to vote on this anymore. We voted on it twice. I think you get the message. So Theresa May goes away. She goes back to the EU and says, look, they really don't want it. I don't know what to tell you. So yesterday, by the way, just as a matter of coincidence, was the day we were supposed to leave the EU. Yesterday was the 29th of March, and that was our exit date. But the EU has extended that time because, as well, when our government voted against the deal, they had another vote the next day on, okay, you don't want the deal? Do you want to leave without a deal? And the government went, no, voted overwhelmingly in favour. No, we want to leave with a deal and we don't want the one that you've got. Which is a bit like being on the Titanic and getting everyone together to take a vote for the iceberg to move itself out of the way. Like it's not, and that joke isn't a joke I made, it's a joke that a senior EU official made. That's not good, is it? But they're right, I mean, we made a deal. We said to the EU, we're leaving. Can we figure out the terms of leaving? And the EU went, all right, I guess so. Okay, here's the deal. All right. Another!
Don't worry, Mr. B. I have a cunning plan to solve the problem.
We don't want this deal, and we don't want no deal, so what's it to be? The EU will go, no deal then. I mean, like, what do you expect? So, the EU have said, okay, we'll give you an extension of 2 weeks, which takes us to the 12th of April, and then we're going to leave without a deal. Because that's what happened. Oh, I should mention, yesterday they voted on Theresa May's deal again because she just keeps going, come on, she doesn't want to leave without a deal and she hasn't got any other deal. So she just keeps asking in the hope that they'll change their minds. She even said, if you pass the deal, I will resign. Which is really weird because her job is to get the deal passed. Usually people resign when they are failing at their jobs. Like David Cameron went into the referendum, he said, I'm going to have a referendum on the EU, I think we should stay in. And then when we voted to leave, he quit because that was not what he wanted. In this example, Theresa May will keep being the Prime Minister only if we continue to reject her plans, which is really, really odd. So anyway, now the deal has been voted down 3 times, and the headline that I read yesterday said, Theresa May wants to vote on the deal for a 4th time. Theresa May, in her fuck you speech, again, loved it. She made a good point about the MPs haven't really said what they do want.
Motion after motion and amendment after amendment has been tabled without Parliament ever deciding what it wants. All MPs have been willing to say is what they do not want.
To their credit, the government went, you know what, we're going to have a whole day of what they called indicative voting. They're going to come up with a bunch of different solutions to Brexit. Second referendum, cancelling the whole thing altogether and just staying in the EU, being a stronger part of the single market, right? All, like 8 different options they came up with. And they're going to vote on each of them, and it's called indicative vote, which means if they get a majority on one or more of the options, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. It's just like a little poll, like a survey. Like, let's just see where our head's at. So they spent the whole day voting on all these different outcomes, and they didn't get a majority on any of them. Which means this is what government doesn't want. They don't want to stay in the EU. They don't want a second referendum on whether or not to stay in the EU. They don't want the deal that has been negotiated for us. They don't want any other type of deal that could be dreamt up. And they don't want to leave without a deal. You tell me, what am I missing? So now the rumours are that maybe Theresa May is going to try and get an even longer extension, like we stay in the EU for another year, so we can try and figure something else out. And she's going to maybe do another general election. I think the idea is literally that she just wants different MPs in there, so she has someone new to ask. We had one of these 2 years ago. I made a whole video about it. I think there's a genuine feeling of unity that we can all get from this situation, and it is this. No matter who you believe in and who you voted for, or if you didn't vote for anyone at all, we can all now as a nation stand together and agree that this election was pointless. At this point, I think the government's genuine preferred option would be to build a giant paddle and just swim away from Europe. Just like we get one side out at the west side of Wales and the other one at the east of Norfolk, and just canoe like the Cambridge and Oxford boat race. Just sail up towards the Arctic, and then we'll be better off. We'll be a bit closer to America. That'll be nice for them. We can keep an eye on things. I've made a few videos about political things in my life, like when we had a hung parliament in 2010 when Donald Trump was elected. There's certain things that happen that I find interesting. I've never found anything as interesting as this. It is so stupid. The only thing I can say for certain that is a positive that has come out of all of this is that I get my Patreon money in dollars and the pound is just in the toilet right now. So the exchange rate is really good. So if you donate $1 to Patreon, that's like 90p. So please do that. It will help you to enjoy more videos like this. Finally, I'll leave with some words that I said 2 years ago. Basically, no one knows what the fuck's going on. See you later.
Now, you want us to get on with it. And that is what I am determined to do.